Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. If there's a name that still echoes among those who observe the mysteries of One Piece, it's Enel. Since his defeat and disappearance on his journey to the moon, he has remained out of the story's center, but perhaps that is about to change. I believe there is enough evidence to suggest that Enel may return right in Elbaf, and the mention of a devastating thunderbolt in chapter 1141 only strengthens this possibility. Who knows? Maybe he is the missing piece in the prophecy surrounding the giants and their sacred land. The fact is, Elbaf has always been a location anticipated by many fans, and now, with all the information we have, it could be the perfect stage for the return of the self-proclaimed god. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. When Frankie and Ripley discuss the vulnerabilities of Elbaf, one revelation stands out. Lightning and fire are the only weaknesses of the giant atom tree. This alone could be a very clear clue. If there's one thing that defines Enel, it's his ability to manipulate lightning with the Goro no Mi, a devastating power that could easily repeat the destruction mentioned in the chapter. The story of Hogan, an entire village lost due to a lightning strike, raises the possibility that Enel may have been there before. Or perhaps the prophecy is pointing directly to him. If this is a detail inserted by Oda now, it could be because this threat is yet to come. Moreover, Hadradine and the new giant warrior pirates speak of an irredeemable villain who cannot be trusted, an enemy of the world. At first glance, this seems to refer only to Loki, but if we dig deeper, it may be a reference to the real danger looming over Elbaf. The way Loki rises at the end of the chapter, colossal and threatening, might just be a foreshadowing of the true disaster to come. And if Loki's release is in some way a trigger for Enel to enter the scene, who knows, maybe he made a deal with Loki or is just waiting for the perfect opportunity to regain his divine position. Another detail that makes me believe Enel might be involved with Elbaf is the mythological references Oda constantly uses. Elbaf, as we know, is inspired by Norse mythology, and the prophecy of Ragnarok, the end of the world for the Norse gods, is something that could be recreated in One Piece. In mythology, one of the most notable events of Ragnarok is the arrival of an apocalyptic storm, with thunder and lightning destroying everything. If there's anyone who could play this role within the narrative of One Piece, it's Enel. He considers himself a god and has already tried to destroy an entire civilization once. I believe that if he finds a reason to take revenge on the world, Elbaf could be his next target. Another point to consider is what Enel has been doing all this time. Since he went to the moon and discovered the ancient ruins of a lost civilization, we know he found something that further convinced him of his divinity. His discoveries might be connected to the Void Century in the ancient kingdom, meaning he may have information that no one else has. Who knows? Maybe he learned about Elbaf and the giant's connection to the world's past. If he discovered that there is something in Elbaf that could threaten his self-proclaimed dominion, perhaps he sees it as a reason to attack. Chapter 1141 might have given a very important clue by mentioning the destruction of a village by lightning. But beyond that, the way Loki is treated as an absolute villain could be setting the stage for an even greater revelation. If Loki is an enemy of the world, then what about someone like Enel, who has enough power to rival even the Marines admirals? I think the answer may be right before our eyes, and Oda is just waiting for the right moment to bring Enel back into the story. I believe there is enough evidence to say that Enel still has a role to play, and Elbaf might be the perfect place for his return. If he truly is the thunder of the prophecy, then the Straw Hats will have a formidable enemy to face, and the Giants' land itself may be in danger. Perhaps it's just a matter of time before the skies of Elbaf are lit with golden lightning, announcing the return of the one who once called himself a god. And I think that if there is a perfect moment for Enel's return, it's now. The first part has already explored how Elbaf could be an ideal target for him, mainly due to the giant's specific vulnerabilities. But there is something even greater at stake. If we stop and think about Enel's symbolism within the story and the structure of the prophecies that have been mentioned throughout, perhaps his return isn't just a matter of revenge or ambition. Who knows? Maybe he's directly linked to Elbaf's fate and what will happen to Luffy and his allies. Chapter 1141 introduced a very important concept: the Ragnir, or Iron Thunder. If Hadradine is calling Loki this, it could mean two things. Either Loki has some power related to thunder and metals, or this word carries a prophetic meaning within Elbaf's culture. If it's the latter, the title could refer to someone who will bring destruction to the giants through an overwhelming thunder. And if that thunder isn't a metaphor, what if it really refers to someone who can manipulate electricity? The reference to Norse mythology fits perfectly with Enel. In mythology, Thor is the god of thunder, but he is also a warrior protector of the giants. However, we know that Enel is not a protector. On the contrary, he sees himself as a superior entity. He is is more like the destructive version of lightning, a punishment from the heavens. This makes me wonder if at some point in the past, the giants of Elbaf had contact with someone like Enel, someone who punished them, and whom they still fear to this day. Perhaps this Ragnir is a title given to Enel himself, even though the characters haven't realized it yet. Now, if Enel is coming back, how would he get to Elbaf? I think there are two very plausible possibilities. The first is that he himself comes down from the moon, bringing with him his legion of automatons. This would make sense since he spent so much time conquering that territory and could be ready to expand his domain. The other possibility, which seems even more interesting to me, is that someone brought him back. If Loki is involved with a larger group, like the world government or the Gorosei themselves, perhaps they found a way to summon Enel to be a weapon of destruction against the Straw Hats. Think about the importance of this detail. If Enel is a pawn in something bigger, he could end up being much more dangerous than he was before. In the past, he only had his megalomaniacal ambition, but now he might have a much more defined purpose. If the world government recognizes the power of someone like Enel, they could use him against any rebel nation, and Elbaf might be the first target. Going back to chapter 1141, we have a very important detail. A lightning bolt was responsible for destroying a giant branch of the Atom Tree. This doesn't seem like just any coincidence. If there's something that can threaten Elbaf, it's fire and lightning. What would happen if Enel decided that, to prove his power, he should destroy the giant's base? Moreover, there's another detail that deserves attention. Luffy's behavior in this chapter shows that he's willing to help even those who might be dangerous, like Loki. This could be a problem when it comes to Enel. If Enel shows up in Elbaf, Luffy might try to face him the same way he did in the past, but the situation now is completely different. Luffy has become much stronger, but Enel may have evolved as well. The battle between them would no longer be just a duel between a rubber man and a thunder god. Now, it would be a confrontation that could decide the fate of an entire nation. If Loki really has some kind of connection to Enel, whether through a pact or an ongoing plan, then we're talking about something much bigger than just a villain returning. We're talking about a disaster foretold. Something that could mark one of the greatest losses the history of One Piece has ever shown. Luffy may have to choose between saving Elbaf or continuing his path to find the One Piece. This choice could be one of the hardest moments for him. And finally, there's one point that cannot be ignored. If Enel has returned, it means what he discovered on the moon is important to the main plot. Perhaps he found something the world government didn't want anyone to know. If that's the case, then his arrival in Elbaf isn't just about destruction. It could be about revealing a secret that will change everything. Does Enel know something about the lost century? Is the ancient civilization of the moon connected to the giants in some way? I think that, at the very least, his return could give us information that changes the course of the story. In the end, Enel returning to Elbaf makes sense both narratively and in terms of world building. He represents a threat that fits perfectly into the prophecy, has a power that could be devastating to the giants, and may carry secrets no one else knows. If he really returns, then maybe Luffy and the Straw Hats are about to face one of the greatest challenges of their entire journey. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.